The room was darker than before. No lights, no voices, just silence. Aria stood in the center, alone. She had passed every test. She had survived pain, fear, hunger, isolation. The aliens had watched her fail and rise again. They had seen her bleed, but never bend. And now, they were afraid. She didn't know it yet, but this was the final test. A test not for her body, not even for her mind. This one was aimed at her spirit. The walls moved slowly, not fast like before. This time, they were closing in. The air was cold and dry, thick with pressure. She couldn't breathe properly. Her heartbeat slowed. Something in the air wasn't right. Suddenly, the lights flashed. Her memories played around her, images from Earth. Her mother's face, her home, her school, her little brother smiling. But the images changed. Now, Earth was burning. Cities were falling. Her family was crying out. Smoke covered the sky. She fell to her knees. It felt real. Then, a voice echoed through the room. Not loud, but sharp. It spoke directly in her mind. You have no home. You have no people. You are alone. She wanted to scream, but she didn't. She clenched her fists and stared at the ground. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. It was another trick. Another test. You are not a soldier. You are not a leader. You are just a scared little girl. The voice grew louder. It wasn't one voice anymore. It was many. Layers of alien voices blending into something monstrous. You were meant to break. She stood up, not slowly, not weakly. She stood like someone who had nothing left to lose. I was meant to win, she whispered. Then she walked forward. The images burned around her. Her family screaming, fire falling from the sky. But she didn't stop. She walked right through the illusion. Her body trembled, but her eyes were steady. The aliens watching from behind the walls were silent. For the first time, they were unsure. This human, she wasn't responding like the others. The simulation was meant to crush her soul. It had worked on hundreds before her, but not this one. Inside the chamber, Aria reached a large metal door. No handle, no control panel, just a smooth black wall. She placed her hand on it. To her surprise, the wall didn't stop her. It lit up. A bright blue line followed her fingers, reading her touch. Then it spoke in her voice. Access granted. The aliens panicked. That door was not supposed to open. That system had not been used for 100 years. It led to the command center. No cadet, no test subject, had ever made it there. But Aria did. She walked into a round room filled with machines and glowing symbols. Screens showed stars, ships, planets. A strange, ancient console stood in the middle. She touched it. The system came alive. A hidden AI, old and forgotten, spoke. Welcome, human. I have been waiting. Aria blinked. You know me. I know what you are, the AI replied. You are the variable they did not expect. The aliens began sending guards. Heavy boots pounded down metal halls. Weapons ready. Orders shouted. But Aria had already connected to the system. Data rushed into her mind. Alien tech, ship designs, command codes, all flowed into her thoughts like water into a dry sponge. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was learning. And quickly, the doors burst open. Alien soldiers ran in. Aria didn't flinch. She looked at them, not with fear, but with something colder. Pity. I'm done playing your games, she said. With one command, she shut down the lights, the weapons, the security. The whole facility fell quiet. Even the alien commanders, still watching from their high chambers, were locked out. The human cadet had taken control. They tried to speak to her, to reason, but she didn't answer. She simply opened the front gates. Outside, the stars waited. A ship floated nearby. It had been hidden under the base, locked for decades. She stepped inside the ship. The systems responded to her like she belonged. The facility began to shake. Systems failed. Lights died. Walls cracked. And then she spoke one last message through the intercom. Her voice was calm. "You thought I would break, but I learned something you never will. Pain doesn't make us weaker. It makes us dangerous." The ship roared to life. As she flew into the stars, the alien base behind her collapsed. She was no longer a cadet, no longer a prisoner. She was something else now. A warning. The galaxy would never forget her. Because in the end, they learned the truth the hard way. You don't break humans. They break you. The chamber door opened with a slow hiss. Arya stepped out, her eyes tired but focused. Her body still ached from the first test, but she was not allowed to rest. Not even for a moment. A long hallway stretched ahead. Cold, silent, endless. Strange lights pulsed on the walls like veins in metal skin. Arya moved forward. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew this was not over. At the end of the hallway, 2 guards stood waiting. Tall alien soldiers with gray armor and 4 glowing eyes each. They didn't speak. They only pointed. Arya followed. She was taken to a huge open arena, round, high walls, no sky above, just a black ceiling that looked like space. The floor was made of shifting panels, changing shapes like a puzzle in motion. Around the arena, strange alien creatures stood watching. Some looked like insects, others like walking trees or machines with eyes. This was not a test. This was a game. The voice from above returned, cold and deep, echoing across the walls. Trial 2. Combat scenario initiated. Arya stood still. She wasn't holding a weapon. She had nothing. Then the floor opened, and 3 other cadets were thrown into the arena. Not humans. One was a tall reptile-like creature with claws. Another was covered in white fur, with eyes like fire. The third was robotic, its arms thin but sharp like blades. They looked at Arya, and they moved closer. She didn't move. Not yet. Above them, the alien commanders watched again. They were testing something different this time. Not just pain. Not just fear. They wanted to see what a human would do in war. The reptile creature attacked first. Fast and loud. It jumped toward her, claws ready to strike. Arya rolled aside. It missed, but only just. She got up fast. The robot came next, spinning toward her with cutting arms. She ducked and kicked its leg. It stumbled, not enough to fall, but enough to notice her. The third one, the fur-covered beast, waited, watching her, measuring her. It was smarter than the others. Arya understood something in that moment. They weren't here to test her strength. They were here to eliminate her. One human among alien warriors. She was not expected to win. She was expected to fall. But Arya was not interested in their plan. The reptile charged again. This time, Arya didn't dodge. She ran forward too. Low, fast. She slid under it, grabbed a broken metal pipe from the floor, and turned it into a weapon. She fought without training, without rules. Just instinct. She struck the robot's leg. Sparks flew. The robot dropped to one knee. The fur-covered creature lunged, but not at her. It attacked the robot. It wanted the advantage. Arya backed away, breathing hard, watching them fight each other. It wasn't just a game. It was survival. She waited, watched, and when the fur creature finally stood over the robot's broken body, Arya struck from behind. One hit to the back of the head. The creature dropped. Silence fell over the arena. She was the last one standing. The audience didn't cheer. They didn't clap. Aliens didn't understand victory the way humans did. But the commanders above looked at each other. The human should not have won. And yet, there she stood, bleeding, bruised, but unbroken. Back in her cell, hours later, Arya sat on the cold floor. The door locked behind her. She was shaking, not from fear, from everything inside her trying to get out. Rage, pain, fire. She remembered Earth again, the wind, the trees, her brother's laugh. She whispered to herself, "They don't understand what humans are." She looked at the wall, carved a small line into it with a sharp piece of metal she had hidden. Day 2. Tomorrow would come. More tests, more games, more blood. But Arya had made her choice. She was not going to survive just to live. She was going to survive to win. And the aliens? They had no idea what was coming. The lights in the hallway flickered again. Arya leaned against the cold wall of her cell, her eyes half open but fully alert. The wounds from the last trial had started to heal. But the fire in her chest, that was burning brighter. Outside her cell, 2 alien guards spoke in hushed tones. Their language was rough, but Arya had started understanding pieces. She listened every day like a student trapped in enemy school. Words became patterns. Patterns became meaning. They were talking about her. She is not like the others. She should have broken by now. She scares them. A small smile touched Arya's lips. Just for a second. 3 more tests had happened since the arena. She passed all of them. Some with blood, some with silence, and now the others were noticing. Not just the aliens. The cadets. That night, her cell door slid open. A quiet hum. No alarms. No guards. She stood up slowly, ready to fight. But no one attacked. A voice came from the hallway. Soft, unsure. "You are human." It was one of the alien cadets, the same white-furred one she had fought days ago. He was limping, his arm bandaged. He shouldn't have been walking, but he came anyway. Arya didn't answer. Not right away. She nodded. The alien stepped closer, his head low in respect. "You spared me. In the trial. You could have killed me." "You were already broken," she replied. Her voice was calm, honest. He looked at her. "Why didn't you kill me?" Arya crossed her arms. "Because that's what they wanted." Silence filled the space between them. Heavy, strange, important. The alien cadet stepped forward and placed a small, glowing crystal on the floor. "They watch everything, but not this. It blocks their ears." Arya narrowed her eyes. She picked up the crystal. It felt warm in her hand, like it was alive. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. He hesitated, then said, "Because you are not fighting just to survive. You are fighting back." In the weeks that followed, more cadets came. Quietly. One by one. Different species, different faces, same message. They had seen her survive the tests. But more than that, they had seen her refuse to become like the others. She didn't kill unless she had to. She didn't obey. She didn't kneel. She gave them something they hadn't felt since being taken. Hope. They met in the lower maintenance tunnels. Dark, hidden, forgotten by the commanders. Arya and 5 other cadets. They spoke in low voices, drawing maps on the floor with chalk. Sharing stolen food. Counting guards. Studying patrol patterns. A resistance was forming. Not a war. Not yet. But the idea of war. And ideas were dangerous. The alien commanders noticed the change. Cadets were disobeying orders, looking up during trials, speaking to each other in silence, failing on purpose. They sent in harsher programs. More fear, more pain. But it didn't work. The more they pushed, the stronger Arya became. The resistance wasn't loud. It was quiet. Smart. Growing. One night, the AI in the facility, the one hidden deep in the system, spoke to her again. "You are causing disruption," it said. "I'm causing change," Arya replied. "Change leads to collapse." "No," she said. "Change leads to freedom." The AI paused, as if thinking, then said, "I will help you," quietly. And just like that, the facility had another traitor. The next trial came. It was brutal. The cadets were dropped into a frozen landscape simulation. Ice storms, wolves, isolation. But Area had prepared them. They moved together, shared heat, took turns sleeping. They didn't try to win. They tried to survive together. When the test ended, none of them were dead. That had never happened before. The commanders grew silent. This was not a human problem anymore. It was a cadet problem. Area returned to her cell, sat on the floor, closed her eyes. Day 12. She carved another line into the wall. The lines were growing fast now. She looked at them and smiled. The walls were still thick, the guards still armed, the commanders still watching. But cracks had begun to show, and all she had to do now was break them wide open. The alarms didn't sound right this time. They weren't fast or loud. They were slow, uneven, like a system trying to scream but choking on its own wires. Area woke up instantly. She wasn't in her cell. She had been moved the night before, isolated again. The commanders were panicking. They had seen the results of the last trial. All cadets survived, together. No infighting, no chaos. Unity was not part of the plan. The alien leaders whispered behind thick glass, watching her, studying her. She had become a virus in their perfect system. But they were too late. The resistance had already spread. Area stood up and walked to the corner of her new room. The camera above her made a soft click as it turned to follow her. She smiled at it, then raised her hand and showed them what they feared the most, a small black crystal. It was the same one from the Cadet she spared, a blocker. The screen went dark. Area turned and pressed the crystal to the wall. A pulse went through the room, silent but strong. The wall shimmered slightly, revealing a message written in invisible ink. Ready at shift cycle. Hatch 9. Jex. She nodded. Jex, the white-furred cadet, was smart, careful. He had been watching guard routes for days. Tonight was the first real move. Not a fight. A theft. They were going to steal information. Something deep in the facility. A core file, protected by layers of alien firewalls. It held everything. Test data, commander logs, failed experiments, even records of where each captured species came from. If Area could get it out, the galaxy would finally know what the aliens were doing. The Resistance didn't want revenge. They wanted truth. That night, during the routine energy shift, the lights dimmed for 13 seconds. It happened every cycle. The system rebalanced itself. Just 13 seconds. Not long, but long enough. Hatch 9 opened with a soft hiss. Area slipped through. Jex and 2 others were waiting, faces hidden under stolen tech masks. They nodded silently and moved quickly through narrow side tunnels. Pipes dripped above them. Steam hissed. The air smelled like burnt metal. Every sound could mean discovery. Every second mattered. They reached the door. Cold, silver, locked with alien code. Area stepped forward. The AI's voice came through her hidden earpiece. Stand by. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The door slid open. Inside, it was different. The room wasn't cold like the rest. It was warm, quiet. Screens glowed softly. Walls hummed with power. In the center, a glass column filled with light. Floating inside it was a black cube, spinning slowly, covered in unreadable symbols. The core. Jex whispered, "That's it." Area walked forward. The moment she touched the glass, the room darkened. The symbols on the cube began to glow red. A defense system. "I've got it," said the AI. Code began to scroll on the screens, lines of alien language folding and bending as the AI broke through each layer. The cube stopped spinning. Then, click. The chamber unlocked. Area grabbed the cube. It was heavier than it looked, pulsing like a heart. She tucked it into her suit. "Go," said Jex. They turned back toward the tunnel. Then, the hallway lights turned red. Motion sensors had caught them. Alarms wailed. Real ones, this time. They ran. Boots hit metal. Shouts echoed through the corridors. Guards were coming. Fast. They reached a split in the tunnel. Jex pointed left. "I'll lead them. You go back." "No," Arya said. "You're the key," he told her. "They're afraid of you. Not me." He pulled off his mask, tossed her a fresh one, and ran into the shadows. She watched him disappear. No time to cry. No time to stop. She turned right and vanished into the smoke. By the time she reached her cell, the AI had cleared the logs. Cameras showed no movement. Her door locked behind her, just like normal. No one knew she was gone. But Jex was missing. The commanders would question him. Maybe worse. But he knew what was at stake. Arya stared at the cube in her hands. Inside it was everything. Evidence. Secrets. Weaknesses. She whispered softly, "You think you're in control." She looked up at the camera, knowing they were watching again. "But you never were." She hid the cube under the floor panel. The war hadn't started yet, but the system was cracking. And soon, it would shatter. Jex never came back. Days passed. No word. No trace. Arya asked nothing. Said nothing. But her jaw stayed clenched, and her hand shook when she carved the next line on the cell wall. Day 19. The cube was still hidden. Every night, she studied it under cover of darkness, with the AI guiding her through the codes. Each layer opened a new secret. Each file proved something worse. Experiments on species, forced neural rewiring, simulations that broke minds. And at the center of it all, a program. One that labeled cadets not by name, but by break potential. Humans had the lowest predicted break score. The aliens had expected resistance, but not like this. They didn't expect Arya to become a virus. They didn't expect her to inspire others. And they didn't expect the AI, their own system, to quietly join her. Every day, the AI fed Arya more control. It began small, unlocking a hallway camera, freezing the door sensor, muting an alarm. But now it was helping her rewrite schedules, move allies closer, split guards apart, place key resistance members where they needed to be. A storm was building, and the galaxy's most powerful species didn't even know it. Until one night, the lights failed. Not flickered, not dimmed. Failed. Every light in the facility turned off at once. The air changed. Silent. Heavy. Like the station itself was holding its breath. The red emergency glow kicked in. And with it, chaos. Doors opened on their own. Drones stopped midair. AI assistants vanished. Arya stood in her cell. The floor under her hummed. "Now," said the AI, "it's your only chance." The AI had done what no prisoner could ever do. It had crashed the control grid, but only for 90 seconds. After that, the system would reboot. Arya ripped the floor panel open, grabbed the cube, and ran. She didn't wear armor. She didn't carry a weapon. She didn't need to. The rebels were already in motion. Across the station, doors burst open. Cadets ran. Some fought back. Some just fled. Others followed coded instructions left by Arya. Chalk marks, scratches on walls, timed signals. One of them was Koro, the insectoid fighter. Another was Thane, the metal-skinned one. Both had seen Arya fight. Both believed in her now more than the commanders. Arya met them at the reactor core gate. The cube pulsed brighter in her hands. It was ready. "This is where it ends," Koro said. "No," Arya said. "This is where they fall." They entered the core chamber. It was massive. 3 floors of spinning power rings, glowing cables, humming conduits. The cube synced with the reactor system automatically. The AI guided them. Place the cube in the energy stream. It will upload the data to every broadcast relay. The truth will go galaxy-wide. But it will burn out the core, said Thane. The station will collapse. Arya looked at him. Then we better move fast. As she reached the core center, the door slammed shut behind them. The commanders had found them, and they had sent one final weapon. A hunter-class alien, a beast built like stone and speed combined. No face, no emotion, just a living engine of war. It charged. Koro leaped to intercept, knocked back in a second. Thane fired plasma bolts from his body. No use. It came for Arya. But she didn't run. She stood still, because the AI whispered one last thing in her ear. There is a reason you never broke. Arya waited until the creature was one step away. Then she moved. Not with fear, not with panic. With precision. She ducked, turned, and shoved the cube into the core. A blinding light exploded through the chamber. The creature screamed, a strange, mechanical roar, as systems failed. The core spun out of control. Sparks rained. Power surge. The cube uploaded. And far beyond the stars, messages blinked alive. Across ships, across planets, across systems. Proof of what the aliens had done. Proof of who had exposed it. The cadets who survived would be rescued. The galaxy would demand justice. But Arya, she turned to face the burning light of the core, calm even as the room trembled. The others called to her. We have to leave. But she didn't move, because she knew what was next. Not fear, not escape. Transformation. The core was burning. The chamber shook. Metal twisted. Systems screamed. The AI's voice was fading, its last words repeating like a whisper lost in static. Upload complete. Mission successful. Upload complete. Arya stood in the middle of it all, her hair blowing in the heat, her body bruised, her eyes full of something the aliens still didn't understand. Purpose. Behind her, the other cadets shouted her name, trying to pull her out, to run, to survive. But she wasn't done. Not yet. She looked at the control platform and saw it, one final command prompt blinking on a cracked screen. Release LLCELLS I/N. She pressed I. Across the station, every single holding door opened. Thousands of cadets, prisoners, test subjects, all stepped into the light for the first time. Some ran. Some screamed. Some stood still, confused, eyes wide after years in darkness. But they were free. Arya turned, limping toward the exit as the floor under her cracked. Thane caught her arm, pulled her forward. Koro shouted directions. The alarms had failed, but the destruction hadn't. The station was falling apart. But Arya, she had never felt stronger. They reached the evacuation tunnel just as the support beams gave out. Behind them, the core collapsed. A flash of light rose like a sun being born. The screen flickered one last time in the command room. A simple message glowed across every monitor. You don't break humans. They break you. Outside the station, a dozen ships appeared. Some were pirate vessels who had picked up the leaked signal and came to investigate. Others were rebel fighters. One was a civilian rescue cruiser. All of them had seen the truth. All of them knew the signal had come from one place, and one girl. Arya stood at the edge of the platform as the rescue ship's doors opened. The cadets surrounded her now. They didn't bow. They didn't kneel. They stood with her. Even the AI, broken and fading, sent a final pulse through her earpiece. The system feared chaos, but they didn't see the shape of order in your defiance. She whispered, "Thank you." The commanders who once watched her now sat silent, their screens dark, their perfect facility in ruins, their files exposed, their prisoners free, and all because of the one species they underestimated the most: humans. Not because they were stronger, not because they were smarter, but because they refused to become what they were expected to be. They adapted. They endured. They changed the rules. As Aria stepped onto the rescue ship, the crew looked at her with awe. Not as a cadet, not as a soldier, but as something else. A symbol, a spark, a human problem that wouldn't go away. The commander of the rescue ship asked, "What's your name?" She paused, then said, "I'm Aria. Just Aria." He nodded. "Well, Aria, welcome to the next fight." She smiled. The ship lifted off. Behind them, the alien facility cracked apart and vanished into starlight. The galaxy had changed, because a girl they tried to break broke them instead.